What is up, everybody? This is your boy AJTRIP, and welcome to That's Shoot. We a exciting show where I talk about what's going on in the world of professional wrestling. Usually, I talk about some news stories and then the main topic, although not really went on newsworthy this week. WWE also peaked on a contract. R-Truth doesn't seemingly like CM Punk, and yeah, some other things happened. This past Saturday we did have some returns. We had three big returns. We had CM Punk on last Friday. We had Becky Lynch and Brock Lesnar last Saturday, and both are going to be opposite of when they left. Brock Lesnar's going to be a baby face, and Becky Lynch is going to be a heel. So hey, that's fine, Danny, all good. But I think we're just going to talk about the main topic of this episode, and we're going to talk about the summer of Punk. And trust me, y'all, I was planning on doing this way before um, CM Punk had ever signed with AEW or anything like that. I was, because there is some big anniversaries this year, and in the world of professional wrestling. We had the 25-year anniversary of Hulk Hogan turning heel, and changing the business. We had the 20th anniversary of the invasion angle, which I did a couple weeks ago. Um, so now here we are, and it's now the 10-year anniversary of the Summer of Punk. So it's you can't believe it, right? So I think we're gonna go right into that. Um, so started with the pipe bomb. Started with the pipe bomb. There have been rumors that CM Punk's contract was coming up, and he was going to, and maybe he was going to leave WWE, and everything like that. And they decided to make it about a storyline. Because if CM Punk did leave WWE, then why not make some money off of it, right? So, at this point, CM Punk was actually the leader of the Nexus. He had took over from Wade Barrett, the leader of the Nexus, and he had been the leader since probably January of that year, I believe. He took over. Because remember, they had that Royal Rumble where he and everybody was everybody in the Nexus was in the Royal Rumble, and I believe it was John Cena who came in and took him out and took everybody out of the Nexus. So yeah, so that he was the leader of the Nexus, and um, R-Truth they turned heel too. So R-Truth and John Cena had a match, and it was a tables match, and CM Punk helped R-Truth win. So R-Truth won, and I'm not even sure because I mentioned like R-Truth, CM Punk. He mentioned something about that he just thought CM Punk was entitled, things like that, and that was because that came from a TikTok from where there was audio playing of the from the art of the podcast from Cole Cabana, when he did that podcast right after he left WWE, and he had said some things, and he talked, and he was, and then there was some audio on there, and there was some audio, and he mentioned in the audio that about what he was telling Vince McMahon backstage, and Vince McMahon can believe. I've never heard this this art of wrestling podcast. I never heard the audio from it. I just didn't. I wasn't listening to podcasts back then. I had no. I had no, you know, want to, in fact, to listen to it. And to be honest with you, there's a part of me that is, I kind of want to go back and do kind of listen to it, but I kind of don't want to go back and I don't want to listen to it because I don't need to. I can just watch clips of AEW and Punk does his promos because he's apparently just going to continue to talk about WWE. Booker T was right. Booker T made, he also made some noise at this when he said that the promo wasn't a hit because he talked about WWE. And I agree with him on that. He shouldn't have talked about WWE, but it was obviously totally a hit. You can't. as much as maybe we don't like it, you can't blame it that it wasn't, because he came back in Chicago, and he referenced Michael Jordan. That's a walk-off grand slam to win the World Series, not just more than just a home run. So, you have to give them credit for that. But yeah, so anyway, going back to that, R-Truth beats John Cena in this tables match. With the help of CM Punk. So CM Punk gets a microphone. He does his now customarily sit down with his legs crossed and gets in the microphone and starts to talk. And obviously, it's I don't have any permission from WWE to use any of their audio or video. And I don't think this and I don't think this is short enough to where if I were to play a clip of it, it would not get claimed and blocked. The WWE, they like to sometimes block things. I mean, one time I used to do live when I was back in Chicago. I used to do live rapid reactions to certain events, and and sometimes you could hear the audio in the background, and they would claim it and have it blocked. So it's I'm not sure you know anything like that, and so I'm not going to I'm not going to risk it right now. But what I'm going to read to you the pipe bomb from CM Punk. John Cena, while you lay there, hopefully as uncomfortable as you possibly can be, I want you to listen to me. I want you to digest this, because before I leave in 3 weeks with your WWE Championship, I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest. I don't hate you, John. I don't even dislike you. I do like you. I like you a hell of a lot more than I like most people in the back. I hate this idea that you're the best, because you're not. I'm the best. I'm the best in the world. There's one thing you're better at than I am, and that's kissing Vince McMahon's ass. You're good at kissing Vince's ass as Hulk Hogan was. I don't know if you're as good as Dwayne, though. He's a pretty good ass kisser. Always was and still is. Whoops. I'm breaking the fourth wall. I've been the best since day one I walked into this company, and I've been vilified and hated since that day, because Paul Heyman saw something in me that nobody else wanted to admit. That's right, I'm a Paul Heyman guy. You know who else was a Paul Heyman guy? Brock Lesnar. And he split just like I'm splitting. But the biggest difference between me and Brock is I'm going to leave with the WWE Championship. I've grabbed so many of Vincent K. McMahon's brass rings that it finally dawned on me that they are just that. They're completely imaginary. The only thing that's real is me and the fact that day in and day out for almost 6 years I have proved to everybody in the world that I am the best on this microphone, in that ring, and even on commentary. Nobody can touch me. And yet, no matter how many times I prove it, I'm not on your lovely collector cups. I'm not on the cover of the program. I'm barely promoted. I don't get to be in movies. I'm certainly not on any crappy show on the USA Network. I'm not on the poster of WrestleMania. I'm not on the signature that produced the start of the show. I'm not on Conan O'Brien. I'm not on Jimmy Fallon. But the fact of the matter is, I should be. And trust me, this isn't sour grapes. But the fact that Dwayne is in the main event of WrestleMania next year and I'm not makes me sick. Oh, hey, let me get something straight. Those of you who are cheering me right now, you are just as big as part of me leaving as anyone else. Because you're the ones who are sipping on those collector cups right now. You're the ones who are buying those programs that my face isn't on the cover of. And then at 5 in the morning at the airport, you try to shove it in my face so you can get an autograph and try to sell it on eBay because you're too lazy to go get a real job. I'm leaving with the WWE Championship on July 17th. And hell, who knows, maybe I'll even go defend it in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Maybe I'll go back to Ring of Honor. Punk looks at the camera and waves. How you doing, Coca Banner? The reason I'm leaving is you people, because after I'm gone, you're going to still pour money into this company. I'm just a spoke on the wheel. That wheel is going to keep turning, and I understand that. Vince McMahon is going to make money despite himself. He's a millionaire who should be a billionaire. And you know why he's not a billionaire? Because he surrounded himself with glad-handed, nonsensical douchebag, censored yes men like John Laurinaitis, who's going to tell him everything he wants to hear. And I like to think that maybe this company will be better after Vince McMahon is dead. But the fact is, it's going to be taken over by his idiotic daughter and his doofy son-in-law and the rest of his stupid family. Let me tell you a personal story about Vince McMahon, all right? We do this whole anti-bullying campaign, and then the microphone cuts off. And he gets up, he does all the things, and he gets up. I've been silenced, and he walks off. So that is that, and I try to do my best, obviously, and not. It's probably on the internet somewhere, on YouTube somewhere. If you are one of these people who have never heard it, if you are like now getting into CM Punk because of what he's doing for his comeback in AEW, and you don't know the whole story, like yeah, like go back and research, go find the pipe bomb promo, go find it, figure it out. So I'll try to condense it here to what to some of the better to some of the better things that were going on around this time. He talks about you know like Dwayne, and this was the year. You know, this was also the year of WrestleMania 27, where they had that 3-year program. WrestleMania 27, WrestleMania 28, and 29, and they were going into WrestleMania 28, and it was going to be the main event was going to be The Rock and John Cena, and so that's why he mentioned Dwayne. He mentioned Dwayne because um, he came back. And John Cena, had mentioned something like that a couple years ago, where he had mentioned the fact that and he got real heat. He mentioned it off camera, but he got real heat with The Rock. He mentioned the fact that he didn't like the fact that The Rock had left to go off to do movies, and he felt like Rock should have stayed. He should have been able to, or if he wanted to do movies, he still could have come back and did that, and then come back and still be with the WWE. And then when he needed to go do a movie, come back, and he didn't. He's kind of saw Rock like I can't remember the exact quote, but they got beef with him and The Rock, and they try and they've used that to kind of build this 3-year feud between him and John Cena at this time. He came back, Dwayne Johnson came back to be the host of WrestleMania 27 down in Atlanta. Then there was the main event, John Cena and The Miz. Um, you know, not too great at that time. The Miz still he wasn't at the level that he is now, where he could put on a good match. Um, and John Cena, is known for working down to his opponent's level. Not necessarily, you know, taking somebody who might be lesser than him and taking him up to the next level. That's always been my biggest complaint about John Cena, because that's what the greats do. The greats make somebody lower than them, talent-wise, make them look, better. And that's one of the things that Roman Reigns has done throughout this, this run he's had. And not saying that a lot of people are lower than him are lower than him, but he's made people look better, even in defeat. Cesaro and Edge and Kevin Owens and so many other people. Well, maybe not Rey Mysterio. But that's a whole different thing, because the size difference and things like that, and and what that's supposed to be. So can't jump with John Cena, but that's one of these that good about Roman Reigns. I think that's happened. Roman had that for a while as well, right? He seemingly couldn't do that. He couldn't pull somebody up to his level or anything like that. But he could always keep up with some other people who are higher than him, the Daniel Bryans of the world, you know, things like that. Um. So anyway, So yeah, and so that's where that comment comes about having Dwayne in the main event, and that's and people want to talk about, was this a shoot or was this real? Was it a shoot? Was this a work shoot? Um, this I believe this was a work shoot. I believe so, and I believe it's a work shoot because of the fact that he talks about Vince McMahon being is better off being dead, better off being dead, and it's gonna be taken over by the doofus daughter and the dumb son-in-law. I think if but I think there were definitely elements of truth in this. I think these were his real feelings that he embellished, as wrestling is. This was his feelings that he embellished. I'm sure he did feel like as if he had been looked over and he had been passed by. And I did not like the fact that he wasn't in the main event of WrestleMania. Um, that or that he couldn't that he could nothing there's nothing he could have done to have made the main event of WrestleMania, um, because it was already going to be The Rock and John Cena, you know, things like that. So like I said, it kicked off the summer of Punk. He tried to kind of hit, and when doing this, of course, the crowd, they were loving it. And they were, and they were doing it. And at some point, he talks about, he says, "Oh, let me get something straight. Those of you who are cheering me right now is the biggest part of me leaving the year." So he still tried to be a heel, something like that. But they soon realized that you know, that the reaction was it wasn't going to be the same. I think they realized that the reaction was going to be the same. One, two, they realized that he was coming to Chicago on Money in the Bank 2011, and he was going to, in his hometown of Chicago, he wasn't going to get booed. So so the next week, so the next couple of weeks, they just decided just to go ahead and drop it, and to kind of make him the voice of the voiceless, as that was his thing. And he things where they did things that they did, they did a match contract signing, him and John Cena, where he called John Cena, who is from West Newbury, Massachusetts, Boston sports fan, called him the New York Yankees. He called it in Boston. That I believe that was the Monday before the show. Actually, I think that was the Monday before the go home Monday. Monday they were in his hometown of Boston, John Cena's, and he said that in his hometown of Boston. And then of course the next Sunday, the pay per view coming up the Sunday after was in Chicago, Punk's hometown. And for a while there, even in John Cena's hometown, he didn't get as cheered as he should have. Even back then, he was still getting the mixed reactions. So that was something that was very interesting as well. But then like they had the things where he had he contracts, and Vince wanted to resign him. So Vince wanted to resign him, and Vince wanted to have him be part of WWE, and he contracts and so they did all this, and they did all this on screen. I think this was obviously some worked moments with some little bit of shoot elements in there as well. I think around that time they kind of let Punk just be him. They really didn't script him probably a lot. That's probably one of the things that he probably wanted to do. He probably didn't want to have to read off scripts. He probably wanted to either have bullet points or just let him flow. You know, so yeah, that's what it was. So and I believe that he also so they did all of this, and then they go to Money in the Bank 2011 in Chicago, and they have an incredible match. And according to Dave Meltzer, which again you guys and this is one of the reasons why I don't listen to Dave Meltzer, right? Because before the Johnny Gargano Andrade match at Takeover several years ago, that was the last 5-star match he had gave to a WWE match. Even though there was obviously several, afterwards. You know, the main one being Michaels Taker at 25. And you can even give Michaels Taker 26 5 stars if you want to because of the drama and everything. Um, but Michaels 25 that was great. And then also at WrestleMania 28. Again, if you wanted to, you could give you could give Taker Taker Triple H 5 stars as well if you wanted to. Um, but there's neither here nor there. Um, but that was a 5-star match by Dave Meltzer, and it is incredible. It is an incredible match. The drama being in Chicago, they play it up so well. They do some great good things. It's a back and forth masterclass. Again, once again, if it's something that you have not watched, you should go ahead and you should watch it. It is fantastic. And and at some point, Laurinaitis and Vince come down to the ring and they try to do they try to do the screw job thing again. Where I think John Cena locks in the STF and then Vince tells John to go ring the bell. John Cena lets go. He sees it while he gets in the STF. STFU. He knocks out John Laurinaitis. He goes to the Vince and says, "Not like this." Now, by the way, this was also like this where Vince McMahon has said that if CM Punk beats John Cena, then John Cena would be fired. So they added this on, I believe, on that same Monday night as well. John Cena would be fired. So John Cena goes to Vince McMahon's hands, not yet. And then when he gets back in the ring, CM Punk gets him up, hits him with a go to sleep. 1, 2, 3. He's the new WWE champion. The new WWE champion in his hometown Chicago. Priest, as Pat Patterson, rest in peace, would say, face go banana. And it's totally awesome. And um and then Vince, he has to live. Oh my god, what's happening? And he runs to the announce desk. He gets on the headphones and says, "Tell Del Rio to come down." Because earlier that night, Del Rio won the Money in the Bank contract. So Del Rio comes down, and CM Punk foils the cash in, and he obviously now gets on. There's that moment that we all know. Vince is standing there, and CM Punk is sitting on the barricade, holding the WWE Championship, going against Vince McMahon, and he runs up the steps. He runs up and he runs out the Allstate Arena as the show goes off. Incredible moment, incredible. It's wonderful, right? Um, but it doesn't end there, right? We have a whole bunch of things like this, right? WWE champion is now on CM Punk, and CM Punk, he kind of does what he says to do. He goes and I don't know if he exactly wrestles for Ring of Honor. I think he makes an appearance at Ring of Honor show with the championship. I don't think he appears on TV, but I think he makes an appearance at a Ring of Honor show, a show that's not televised. He makes an appearance with the championship. He goes to the Cubs game and throws up the first pitch. Sings a 7-inning stretch with the championship. He is very visible with out there. And the WWE goes about 2 or 3 weeks. Now here's the thing. Uh, that earlier that day on Money in the Bank, CM Punk signed the contract. He signed the contract, or he re-signed and everything like that. So this was not a shoot. This was all a work. What he was doing. So about 2 and 3 weeks after he wins and he quote unquote leaves, they do the whole thing. They have a tournament to see who's going to be the new champion, and they do the thing where it's the Miz versus uh, Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio wins. He's the only time he's won the WWE Championship. He wins it. And then that same night he has to wrestle John Cena. It's another reason why a lot of people didn't like John Cena, or maybe didn't like the way he was booked, is because they had, Rey Mysterio wins. And he has to defend the title against John Cena that same night, which John Cena wins, and he becomes a WWE championship, a WWE champion. But then all of a sudden, we hear the familiar, and you wonder what's happening. And by God Almighty, if it isn't CM Punk walking out with the WWE championship that he won, and he walks down and walks to the ring, and here's John Cena with his title, CM Punk with his title. They're looking at each other, and they raise it up. They raise each title up, and that's how Raw goes off. And that starts off the summer of Punk. And a lot of people, including Punk, apparently, because I guess he talks about it on that artist podcast, the Coca Cabana podcast. I have no idea what the hell it is. I know it has something to do with art. I don't know what the rest of it is. So I should just say the Coca Cabana podcast. And he talks about this. Well, he was the hottest thing in wrestling, and they didn't really go with him a little bit. They had him beat. They had him beat. Um, um, John Cena to like kind of unify the championship. So yeah, so he was the WWE championship. And one thing he was talking about was that, but they also had. I think there was. Yeah, that would have been SummerSlam, right? That would have been SummerSlam. Um, Triple H and John Cena, and so Triple H but then they had the whole Kevin Nash thing, right? They had the whole thing with Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash came down and he power bombed CM Punk, and um and then Del Rio cashed in. He won the WWE Championship. And then the whole thing when he went, and I think he feuded with he feuded with he feuded with Kevin Nash, and then he had a Hell in a Cell match. He was part of a Hell in a Cell match with um with 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 Cena and Del Rio for the championship. And this is where The Miz and R-Truth, they were going through their thing at around the same time because they were trying to build up something something like that. So and Miz and R-Truth, they built that they interfered in that match and everything like that, and they caused the whole thing, and that was when I thought it was a great storyline, by the way. Miz and Truth they were fired, and then they were brought back to face The Rock and John Cena at Survivor Series in a tag match, but then CM Punk shortly thereafter won it back from Del Rio, the WWE Championship. It might have even been at Survivor Series, and again, I think that's where it is because once again, here he is. He's the WWE Championship now in the main event. Main event: John Cena, Rock, Miz, Truth, right? So he gets that, and then everything happens, and he has this great run. We know the 404 days of the WWE Championship before he loses to The Rock, and before WrestleMania 29, I guess that would have been 2013, right? 2013, 20, yeah, 20. It would have been 2013, January 2013 at the Royal Rumble. So yeah, and so that's really kind of the summer of Punk. Many people say that it was, it was derailed. I guess including Punk thinking it was derailed because he lost to Triple H. He lost to Triple H. He didn't wrestle Kevin Nash. He wrestled Triple H. He lost his title to Del Rio. He just back and forth with he was instead of him being in main event programs holding the WWE Championship. you know, he had to do with this, and I think, you're right. I understand why. I understand why they did it, because I think they did that right to put the title on Del Rio. They did that so that they could get the money in the bank contract out of the way and just have CM Punk do his thing, right? But I actually think what it should have been was, and well, actually, you know what? Let's go back here, because again, like I mentioned, some people think that um, the Summer Punk was booked poorly. Some people think that it didn't Punk. So let's go back and maybe rebook a few things of the Summer of Punk, right? Let me show you maybe how I would have done it. Even though this way was okay, let me show you how I would have done it. So let me quickly give you two scenarios about how I would probably have redone the Summer of Punk. So Punk wins the WWE Championship and he leaves, right? Okay, that's exactly what I would have done. Done it. I would have done the thing with Miz and Mysterio, have Mysterio won it. I would have named John Cena the number one contender, and then at Night of Champions, it would have been Mysterio against John Cena. At that point, I would have done it, and I would have had John Cena beat Mysterio, right? Okay, fine. Then I would have had Del Rio attack John Cena, have him cash in, and have him beat John Cena to become the WWE Championship. Next night on Raw, is that on Raw? The Del Rio celebration, and do all those things, and it would have been the main event, thing, and he would have been celebrating. John Cena would have interrupted. John Cena would have said, you know, you know, at Hell in a Cell, it's gonna be you and me inside Hell in a Cell. Um, and then um, Triple H would have showed up on the screen and said, "Well, actually, John, you're still gonna get your match, WWE title match, WWE title rematch at Hell in a Cell against Del Rio. But there's gonna be one thing added to the match, and then you would have had and then it would have panned. The screen would have panned from Triple H to CM Punk holding the WWE Championship, and he would have said, 'I'm back.' And then the Fiend would have, just like he did this year. He would have done that, and then the cult of personality would have played. He would have came out. He would have walked down to the ring. So CM Punk comes down, and he holds up the WWE Championship just like this, and Del Rio holds up his, and then there's John Cena in the middle. He's looking at both of them, like this, and then we get the same match, the triple threat match inside Hell in a Cell, right? So um so I don't remember if Truth and Punk if Truth and Punk, if they interrupted the match, and kind of made it a no contest, or I can't remember if Del Rio won and then afterwards they did it. But how I would do it is I would have CM Punk win, become the unified championship, WWE champion. Then I would have had Miz and Truth, do the same thing as they just did, and then go on, and then everything else would play out as exactly the way it is. Say exactly as the way it would have been. That would have been one way to do it, right? And that's how you end the Summer of Punk, basically, because you're into fall. Or the second way you would have done it is You'd have had CM Punk go walk off and do his thing, right? And then what you would have done is you would have, you would have said, you just would have had, you just would have, listen, you the Triple H out there saying, listen, I'm still talking to Punk, I'm still trying to get him back here, I'm still trying to get him to do the thing, I'm still trying to get him to, to be, champion. But we're not going to at this point. We're not going to do the championship. If and then Vince gives him the thing. Either CM Punk comes back for Night of Champions in a match against John Cena, or you're I love you, I love you, Triple H, but you're fired. Give me something like that, right? And they would announce a battle royal. All Raw and SmackDown superstars are invited. And the winner of that, um, would face John Cena for the right to become the new WWE Championship in case he's around, right? And that like that, and then then it would have come the Night of Champions. John Cena would have came down there. Vince and Triple H are down there, and they said, "Okay, where's Punk?" I gave him I told him to be here. I sent him the contract, everything, you know. And so he says, okay, so Punk has 15 seconds into the game. If you don't even, I don't know if he made it, I don't know if he's here. One of the things he asked for was his own like bus, So I don't know if his bus, if he, he get I sent the bus to his house in Chicago. I know he made his way here. I don't know if he made his way here. I don't know if he's here. Just don't. So I don't know. I checked the parking lot earlier today, but I was more backstage to do, so I don't know. I didn't see the bus. All of this stuff, and then it says, "So Drunk is 15 seconds to get down here, or you're fired." And so who won the battle royal is down there, and if not, then they're gonna have a new WWE champion, and they have like a new title there, and then they could have done it, and then count down when Vince says one, Triple H, your, and then they could have done that, and then CM Punk could have came down, had the match with John Cena that they had initially, and all could have been. It actually wasn't Night of Champions. That was actually SummerSlam. They could have done that at SummerSlam. The match that they had at SummerSlam, and goes off from there. And where would Del Rio be in this thing, holding the championship? Del Rio would have. It was the next year, right? It was the next year during Punk's reign when he turned heel in 2012. Then he turned heel. That's when John Cena failed to cash in. So I would have had Del Rio be the first failed cash in. I think he would have cashed it in. He would have cashed it in. He would have done the arrogant thing and says, "I'm telling you when Hell in a Cell," and this would have been just a straight up Hell in a Cell match between Del Rio, and then that could have happened or something like that. But he would have failed the cash. He would have been the first person to fail to cash in. I just would have had CM Punk be champion from Money in the Bank to and that would have added on 4 more months of time. Then and then that would have made him like 500 days. Obviously over 500 days of being the WWE champion. So those are the ways I would have done the Summer of Punk. But if you have any thoughts about how you'd have done the Summer of Punk, post your comments down below in the comment section. All right, y'all. Post your comments down below. Tell me what you guys think. Let me know if you guys have any other thoughts on the Summer of Punk, or maybe even now what's going on right now with Punk. Let me know down in the comment section. Give me your thoughts on CM Punk altogether. Any thoughts on CM Punk that you have? Yeah, it was a very interesting time in wrestling in 2011, and even now 2021, we're getting a little bit more interesting. CM Punk is back. And I've admitted this before. It doesn't feel right to me. He should be in WWE, not in AEW. But that's neither here nor there. So like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. This is your boy AJTRIP signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And I am out.